I'm Kurt Bubna. I'm the senior pastor at East Point Church in Spokane, Washington. So I got contacted by some of the PD leadership, and they gave me an opportunity, the purpose-driven guys, to actually come to Kigali, to Rwanda, for the All Africa Pastors Gathering. I prayed for about 3 seconds because it's like my heart has always been to come to Africa. During a time of worship, the Lord just gave me this picture of this underground aquifer that was running underneath the continent. And the first spring that was tapped into, the first well, was in Rwanda. And I believe that there's a stream, an underground, an aquifer running underneath this continent, and anyone in any country who's willing to tap into it and say, okay, God, we're gonna dig a well here because we want your living water to flow, is gonna experience this. There's 3 main organizations, church organizations in Botswana. There's the OIC, Organization of African Indigenous Churches. There's the BCC, which is the mainline churches, Anglican and such. And there's the EFB, which is the Evangelical Fellowship of Botswana. We met and we did a one-day overview.
It has been very encouraging for the first time to see the organization coming together, fellowshipping together, share the house together, having one goal, one in unity, and speaking one language.
Because they had seen that they can't be the voice of the nation as a church unless or until they are in unity.
So I have asked 1,000 questions. I've also read a lot about the country, and it is an amazing country. It really is the Arizona of Africa. Hot, it's dry. It has more cows in the country. There are more cows than there are people. There are only about 2.5 million people in the country. It's about the size of Texas, so people are fairly spread out. Gaborone, which is the capital city we're in now, has about 10% of the population, and it's exploded in growth. Chobe National Park, which is in the northeast, has the largest African elephant population on the planet. The Okavango Delta, which is in the northwest, it's the second largest migration of animals on the planet. Next, I think the Serengeti. So it's beautiful, it's incredible. It's got all this diversity. But one thing you learn about Botswana is that they are incredibly adaptable. They persevere. They've been through great struggles, and yet they stayed the course. And they have that in their attitude towards the church and even towards purpose-driven.
Some of us have been in the ministry for quite a long time, and we have pastored a number of churches. And it's easy to get people to be born again, but then to keep them, to disciple them, and then after discipling them, also to send them into the ministry has been a very big challenge. And with these teachings, I tell you, it's like, wow, we have got the key that we have been looking for. It's like that man, you remember the story of the Ethiopian eunuch. He was there reading the book of Isaiah, and the Spirit said to Philip, go join him. When Philip joined him, he had him reading the book of Isaiah. And he said unto him, do you understand what you are reading? He said, no, how can I understand if someone does not explain? And then Philip started there. You see, it was there, but he needed someone. It has been there in the Bible. We needed someone just to come and encourage us, just to come and motivate us, just to come and help us to see a big picture.
I knew early on, because as I got to know the people that I'm working with, that they really value dialogue. They value the interaction of African to African. And the first time I came, when we did module 1, I didn't give them enough time. I said, okay, break up in groups, and take 10, 15 minutes. And I'm pulling them, trying to get them back, and they didn't want to stop. And then they said, next time, well, why don't you let us share? And I thought, let you share? I've got so much to cover, so much material to get through right now. I thought, there's no way. But the last 2 times, probably the best thing I've done, the best thing we've done, is I give them some information. I've reduced it a little bit. I've talked a little less, which is challenging. And I've said, okay, now you talk. Here's some questions. You discuss it. And then I've gone to each group, and I said, okay, you pick somebody. And usually only 3 or 4 from the entire, we've had 150 to 200. But you pick one person that's going to represent your group. Tell me one thing you gleaned, one thing you learned, or one struggle that you had. so that you can help them, because nobody can speak to Africans better than Africans. And that has been really good. Probably the biggest thing I wish I would have done earlier is give them more time for discussion. But then the last hour and a half or two of the day, boom, it went black. I mean, there was no light at all. Everybody's pulling their phones out, and they've got their little lights on there so they can read their notes, and it got unbearably hot. But the thing that really impressed me, and here's what I thought. You know, in America, if the power went out, everybody's gone. Well, bye-bye, see ya. I guess church is over with. You know, the church for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years did pretty well without power.
It has been a blessing to have Kate coming in here and taking his time to come and train the pastors. They've been so much hunger for the word and to be trained. As I could be able to tell you that through all the training, every training that we have gone through with Kurt, you'll be able to realize that as a church, we are not doing much. So after training, we're able to discover that we need to do a lot to implement things in our churches.
So we see this really becoming an answer for the needs of the country, Botswana. And we see the purpose-driven church really becoming a baton that Christ is looking at to actually take the church to its rightful place, even in the governance of the nation.
The implementation team here in Botswana have been told from the beginning, you are the potential future master trainers. They're incredible. They have their own struggles. Again, it's the biggest challenge is, how do I do this in my organization? They ask. How do I do it in an organization that's been steeped in tradition for hundreds of years, in a mainline Anglican church? How do I do it in an indigenous church that is extremely different than that evangelical church? But there are guys and ladies, there's 2 women and 10 men, they're in. They want to grow, they want to learn, and they want to figure it out. So it's been really good, but it took us a while to get there.
You remember the principle that Paul talked about to the Corinthians. He said to them, we have this principle that is working, that when we have reached you and when Christ has taken root in you, that you would help us now to take the gospel to the regions beyond you. You see, and this is what is happening. They are coming here to invest on a core of people, which then would tend to replicate this and take it to the regions beyond. So it will not be surprising if next time Botswana is reaching Zambia or is reaching Lesotho or is reaching South Africa, that's from the nucleus that they have invested here.
So it's been good that the interactions that we've had have been very open. I've encouraged an open dialogue, open conversation, honesty. Yesterday on our implementation team, one of the members said, well, I need to say this now because I don't want to say it behind your back. And I said, good, that's great. Let's get it out on the table. And we kicked it around. And then actually the 2 answers to her question were not from me. They were from 2 other of the implementation team members that just went right to the cut to the heart of the issue. You hear from the implementation team, you hear from different pastors about their challenges, about their struggles, about the things they're facing in this country. But to be able to go and to be there and to be invited to be a guest speaker, to listen to the worship, I have fallen in love with African worship. Their hearts, their passion, their energy is just incredible. And it's just been one of the highlights for me, is being able to just watching them worship and being a part of that. But it's also given me insight. I've been to a BCC, EFB, Oak Church. I've been to small churches in really poor areas, very affluent churches in better areas of Gaborone. And I'm getting I've still got a ways to go, but I'm getting a better perspective of the challenges that the church faces here. So it's been really interesting for me just to get exposed to them and to see the challenge and yet the beauty and how they're trying to work together and to make this thing called purpose-driven work in the country.
We were one of the hardest hit country with HIV and AIDS, despite the high percentage of Christians in the country. Now, how do you reconcile Christianity and the high prevalence of HIV and AIDS?
And so we want to also see Botswana changing and becoming that golden nation where we don't have the orphanages that we so have. We don't have street kids here, but What we're looking forward to having is people coming on board and working together for the purpose of the kingdom of God.
And what's been really exciting for me is that they've got who I am. They understand me, and that our church has invested in them, and I've said it and they get it. They want to invest in others. They want to give away. They've been blessed, they've been the recipient. They say it all the time, they pray it all the time. God, as you have given to us and blessed us from East Point and Pastor Kurt, we want to do that for others. And when I hear that, I just get all choked up, man. I do. It's like, wow, their heart is so there. And I know God can do amazing things through them because they've seen us, my church, our people, sacrifice and give away what God's given to us. Man, I tell them again, I tell them all the time, I am the most imperfect pastor they've ever met. I'm in process still. I haven't figured this all out. I tell them, I can tell you what not to do as much as I can tell you what to do. Don't do that because that's dumb. Tried that, been there. And we have such a great relationship where I say it's okay. It's okay to fail, to grow, to learn, to keep moving forward. And so the church, the pastors, the leaders in Botswana, I truly do believe that 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now, they're going to look back at this time, this experience. They won't remember me, my name, and I don't care. But they'll look back. Remember when God brought Purpose Driven to Botswana? Remember when we learned about the 5 purposes? Remember when we learned how to really be balanced? Remember when we learned how to get outside of our 4 walls and to be evangelistic and to reach? Remember when we learned peace and how it changed? How cool would it be if instead of Botswana being the number 2 AIDS capital on the planet, that they dropped to 8 or 9 or 10 over the next 10 years because of the peace plan? I mean, I can't even imagine the lives that would be. And that's what we're about. That's why we're here. And they get that.